Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
I want you, Captain America, to help me rebuild the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yes, sir.
We are the Thunderbolts!
Can't call ourselves that.
God, thank you.
When I became president, first thing I asked was about the secrets. Aliens. Who killed JFK? You're the only one I really trust. I'd like to talk to you about the future.
Folks, guess what? You didn't have to wait 6 months to hear my voice again. Mr. Mike, how you doing?
I am good. This is weird.
Consistency is new for me.
Oh wow, I like it.
Let's get right into it. You have finally seen Brave New World, and
I have finally seen Brave New World.
I'm excited to hear your thoughts. Oh, just folks. So usually, whenever Mike and I see something, we usually respond to one another with, "I have thoughts," and I'm excited to hear his thoughts. The floor is yours.
So, I liked it. I think it's getting an unfair shake in a lot of the reviews. It's not. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's top tier, but there's nothing wrong with it. I think that. I mean, we've had our conversations about Anthony Mackie and, our kind of casting wishes as to maybe who would have gotten it. And we'll be talking about one of them later. But I think that it was a pretty solid movie. I think it stayed true to what it was trying to do.
Mm.
It didn't take too big a bite or try to put too many pokers in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about this. I think they blew the marketing campaign. I don't think they really played to its strengths, and everything was just about the Hulk.
Yes.
And so some mild spoilers if you're listening and you haven't seen it.
Oh, we can blow it up at this point.
Oh, all right. So major spoilers. So, Red Hulk is in this thing for maybe 10, 15 minutes at the end. And they did all the marketing with it.
Yes.
Now I understand that it's a compelling character, but you could have teased it. You could have shown us a hand, shown us an eye. Oh my God, what is that kind of thing? I think they kind of missed the boat in marketing in all their interviews and tie-ins and junkets and stuff. I figured I would have to watch Strange New World. I didn't figure I would have had to have watched The Incredible Hulk to remember some of the stuff. I mean, they're calling back. It's basically the sequel to a 20-year-old movie or a 15-year-old movie. And it would have been helpful. Now, coincidentally, completely apropos of nothing, I happened to watch The Incredible Hulk about 2 weeks ago because I hadn't seen it in a long time. And I was like, we're looking for something to watch. I'm like, let me give this another shot, And so I was kind of maybe a little more up to date on it than I probably would have been otherwise. And I'm kind of glad because, my wife was sitting next to me and she's kind of doing the, who's this guy thing. And, so she was trying to figure out who the leader was.
Okay.
And I think she initially, this is a good guess, she initially thought that it was Zemo. She's like, oh, it's that guy who tried to do things, to tear him apart in Civil War. I'm like, no, definitely not him. And I know she hadn't seen, if ever, certainly I hadn't seen it probably since it came out, seen the Hulk. So she didn't know who Samuel Stearns was. She didn't know any of that backstory. I think they did a pretty decent job in pulling people into it and giving you enough. It's very exposition heavy,
but not in a way where it's bad.
It's not in a way that it's bad. You know, the first 20 minutes obviously is a lot of we need to get you set up
Yes.
and here's where we're going to be.
Mhm.
You know, they bring Bucky in for his 2 minutes of exposition.
So you know what's crazy? I didn't expect that to be Bucky.
No, I didn't either.
And that's what I liked about it, where it felt like a classic, cameo, like, oh wow, that's a surprise.
Yeah. No, I'm glad he was in it.
Yes.
I mean, the Congressman James Buchanan Barnes thing is a little weird.
Yeah.
Because that does not have an analog in the comics. And so this is new territory that they're forging with him. And I'm wondering how that's going to lead into Thunderbolts. Although there's a scene in the Thunderbolts trailer where he's wearing a congressional pin, so I'm guessing he won his election.
Okay, and now he's going to be shooting stuff up in New York.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. So like the first 20 minutes of the film, obviously there's a lot of here's where we're at. Here's where we're at. There's a scene where they find the bunker where conveniently they're running Sidewinder. Tells him his evil plot, kind of James Bondish, and tells him where the evil lair is, and they find the evil lair, and then there's more exposition from Stern. But it's done. You're right. It's not done super heavy-handedly.
It's convenient.
It's convenient, and it's done fairly well. I think Harrison Ford had moments of being great. I don't know that he was. I think there were moments of, what the hell am I doing here? And moments of, oh, I'm sinking my teeth into this. I'm going to be honest. I got emotional at the end when Betty showed up.
Yes,
that hit me. I was like, okay, you did your job there. Good job, Liv Tyler. Good job, director. Good job, everybody.
And that's where this entire universe pays off if you're invested.
Right. Those little moments.
So one thing, and now we all knew, I think for the most part, that it was the leader manipulating things, but there were times where I thought, is Sharon involved in some of this stuff? Because of the way the Falcon and the Winter Soldier ended.
Right.
And I was kind of disappointed that they didn't give her anything in this film.
No, not at all.
Because this is a character that's tied to Captain America. She's tied to this whole... Because what I do kind of hope is that outside of the multi-world stuff, they keep the Captain America stuff as like, politics, international events. And I would have liked to see her get something in this, because what they teased in Falcon and Winter Soldier is like she's back in the government and she's doing her own thing illegally on the side.
Right. Yeah, she's back with CIA, I guess.
Yeah.
Officially.
And I'm wondering if they were going to pay that off.
I'm hoping they do.
Me too.
Because I always liked the Sharon Carter character.
Me too. Trying to think. There's something. All right. So how did you feel about his action scenes?
So, we had this conversation about this last time. I liked them. I thought they were kind of like Winter Soldier. They were kind of grounded pretty well. It still takes me out when he does like funky stuff with the shield. And I know, a lot of it is the properties of the shield. They did it in Winter Soldier, or they did it in the show with US Agent or whatever, Walker, when he was being Captain America, he was tossing the shield around. It just seemed to me like that was like Steve's thing, and part of his enhancement is these super reflexes that he had.
Yeah. And I never thought of that.
And Sam's just doing the same stuff. Calculating the angles and tossing the shield, and it's like, okay, so what made Steve special now? He was really strong. I mean, I would have liked if they found it, and they did. Like there was
Yeah.
unique things that Sam did with the shield, especially with the wingsuit.
Mhm.
I would have just liked if they would have like done more of that and less of the Steve Rogers 2.0 stuff. Um, but other than that, I thought that, I mean, dude got stabbed a lot. What do you get
So
stabbed like? He got stabbed like 4 times.
I think the first stabbing, as soon as he got stabbed, I thought to when T'Challa got stabbed, and I'm like, was this intentional? Was somebody trying to make a parallel here? And then I was like, maybe not, but you never know.
Yeah.
Um, and I think he did it. I think he did a decent job. Like it was,
I think he did. I think it felt real when like that he was like beat up, that he was
yeah,
feeling hurt, that he was in pain, you know? When he's fighting that one dude and he's like, oh hell no, let's finish it. I got stuff to do,
yeah.
It's but you could tell that he was in pain and that he was hurting. Like I appreciate like that felt real.
Oh, and then like towards the end when he's like, I should have took that damn serum.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Which at this point it's like, why not give it to him? But everybody else has it. But so I like
So
I
same
thought the
like,
action sequence is good. The piece at the end, I thought was a little like, how can I put this? So they go to the whole point of like, so Sam tries to talk Ross out of, the Hulk.
mhm.
I thought they were going to go with the whole, hey, the sun's getting low, big guy.
Yeah,
But he fails. And then they go to the park where the cherry blossoms are, and he does it again. So you go to all this trouble to ground this to this place that Ross has important to him because of his relationship with Betty. You had Betty in the movie. Why are you not just bringing Betty into that scene?
I think that would have been too heavy-handed.
You think so?
Yeah,
I'm thinking like, like in Justice League or whatever, where they or where they revive Superman and he's beating them all up, and then they bring Lois in, something like that. Like she should have been. I think she should have been the one to calm him down.
I think it would have just been too much. And then you take away, because I think for me, that spoke to something you see a lot from Sam in the comics where I'm going to try to talk to you. And like, and I think about how when Black Widow told Steve, like, you can't punch your way out of this one. And Sam is the guy that I'm going to try to talk to. I'm going to try to have empathy. His comic book character was a social worker after he was in the military.
Right. Which they touched
I thought
on.
that's what they were trying.
They touched on that a little bit. It was like, are you doing therapy on me or whatever?
And I thought that's what they were trying to convey with that. Like, I've got to hurt you first very badly, but I'm going to try to talk to you. So for me, it was like it clicked. And I think also because I've been rereading his run when he got the shield and some of the things he had to go through.
Right.
And I don't know if it worked for a lot of other viewers because they're probably expecting him to punch his way out of this the way Steve would. So I can see how, like, some people would have been like, I still wish he didn't give up the white suit. I saw in the interviews on why he did it, but I like the look at that white suit better, even if they'd have just taken that cowl off. Also because Hot Toys is still going to charge me $460 for another Sam Wilson, and now he just has a blue suit. And I don't want to pay that. And I don't want to completely transition into Paradise, but I do have to address the elephant in the room because there's a speech that Sterling gives in this most recent episode of Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
Complete Steve Rogers speech. And
Okay.
he nails it. And I never get that feeling from Anthony Mackie.
No, no, he doesn't. To me, he doesn't have like the gravitas and the weight that a Chris Evans can bring to the screen, or a Sterling can bring to the screen, or a dozen other actors. But he just, to me, he's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is about him. There's just a lack of, I don't want to say lack of seriousness, because I don't think it's seriousness. I think it's just gravitas. It's just a lack of weight, and a lack of, he doesn't hold the screen the way some of the other actors do.
He does not take me captive.
Right. I mean, there are some people, when they're on the screen, like that's all you can look at,
Yep,
and they completely own the screen when they're on the screen. And Anthony Mackie's not that guy.
at all, at all. I've watched a few of his movies lately, or shows, and I just never get the feeling like I'm watching a top tier leading man.
No, not at all.
And
No, I mean, Altered Carbon, he was like,
oh,
I hate to say it, he was
brother.
almost a downgrade from Joel Kinnaman,
Joe Kimmer's a pretty good actor too.
I like Joel Kinnaman, yeah. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
little, the last couple of seasons of For All Mankind are a little weird, because he's like behind that old man makeup. But
yeah.
like the first two seasons of that, where he was fantastic in it. And I thought he was pretty good. Altered Carbon is a weird show. Like, it's a weird story
Hmm.
to kind of wrap your head around. But I thought he navigated it pretty well. And Anthony Mackie, I just didn't, I don't know. Like I said, he just kind of blended into it. And it's the same thing here. Like, he's fine. Like, he's a good sidekick, but
Yes.
he's not holding the screen for me as a main guy.
No.
But speaking of sidekicks,
Oh,
Falcon was great.
that guy's good. And it's so I'm gonna flip out a little bit. I was watching it. So Sterling has an interview. I mean, a podcast with his wife. And even in this podcast, you can tell like this is like it's leading man vibes. And I'm just watching interviews with this guy. I'm like, damn, I wish he could have been Falcon. And then I was watching an interview with the guy that plays Joaquin Torres, the new Falcon, and
Daniel
he's
Ramirez.
got it. He's still, I think it's like early 30s. He was playful in the interview, but you can tell like this guy's gonna get it.
Yeah.
When they eventually put that shield on. Well, I don't know if they're ever gonna go that route, because I don't think he gets it in the comics, but I think they probably will. I mean, hell, in the comics, he ends up with actual bird wings. But he was good. He was really good.
Yeah, he was, it's like, I mean, obviously they put him in here to be the comic relief, but he wasn't like overbearing with it.
It wasn't Thor: Love and Thunder.
It wasn't like joke, 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 joke. It
Mhm.
was, yeah, he was funny and he was fun to watch, but there's also a seriousness and a weight to him. And then when he did have the funny moments, they felt earned, like when he fought those guys and then started doing the dance, like stuff like that, like felt earned.
Yep.
So I thought he did a really great job.
So, perfect example. Think about that scene where, and this is where I think they've messed up with Sam's character development. When Joaquin is talking about like, man, you're always on point. You're not making mistakes. You know what I expected Sam to respond with? I thought he was going to respond with, "What, man? I was flying in the sky and I moved out the way and damn near got Rhodes killed." That's what I really thought he was going to respond with. And then he went into that soliloquy, which was pretty much the only time they really touched on, being a black Captain America. Talk about, I'm representing everybody that wants to see at the table. And I'm thinking about him like, when the hell have we ever seen that Sam is always on point? That is not the guy that they have shown us for the past umpteen movies in the MCU. It's always been, and then that was his character, but sidekick guy.
Right.
It's always been, hey, Steve, whatever you do, I'm with you. I'm always getting shot at. And that's why I think I'm not
I
sure.
do what he does, only slower.
Yeah. Self-deprecating at times, telling Black Widow, go ahead, give Red Wing a kiss. He has not, and maybe it's because of the way they've written, the character he's playing does not match this upstanding guy that you see in the comic books. In the comic books, he's extremely confident. He knows who he is. Like, there's a scene where, like, a page where, I'm paraphrasing here, he goes, whether you guys like it or not, see, I am Captain America. And he talks about his parents and where he's come from and how I'm going to uphold the ideals of America for everybody. And, like, even when he's giving that speech at the end of Falcon Winter Soldier to all those, like, different world leaders, it just never comes off that way because his character hasn't been developed in that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much longer he's going to play this character, but I think they've got a lot of work to do.
Well, I'll say this about that. So obviously, film and comic books are different mediums, and you need to present characters in different ways. Especially in a film like an MCU film, which is designed to appeal to a broader audience. You need, everybody can't be righteousness all the time. You need the sidekick, you need the comic relief, you need, the sarcastic quips. And they changed a lot of characters. Tony Stark in the comic books is a raging alcoholic, he's barely functional. But I understand, but I also agree with you in that now you have to do the work.
Yeah.
Bring Sam to the point where you want him to be, and I understand he's gone through a major life change and now he's bearing all this weight and responsibility. So it is going to change him. He's going to be more self-serious. He's going to be, more responsible, but you need to do the work to get him there.
Yes.
And it just seems like they just like one speech and all of a sudden now he's
Cap. Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily work that way. And even when he tries to make like the sarcastic quips, like when Stern said to him, like, what's funny is like, well, you killed a bunch of people, so we have different sense of, we have a different sense of humor. Like it comes off as kind of self-righteous instead of sarcastic.
Yep.
And I think you need to blend those a little before you get to that point.
And I don't think he has the chops to pull it off.
No, unfortunately, I don't either.
Can we transition over to Paradise now, since we're talking about people who can pull things off?
We can.
Folks, if you're unaware, Paradise is a show on Hulu, so that's Disney Plus. Sterling K. Brown plays like the lead Secret Service agent to the president, and the premise is that the president is murdered, and he has to figure out who killed him. You're really good at setting the table, so can you set the table for this show for the people?
Yeah. So this kind of comes into one of these, like you jump into, you're kind of in the middle of it. There's a lot of flashback. There's a lot of rewinding. But just from jump, scene one, his Secret Service agent, he comes into the president's room and he finds the president dead on the floor. He starts to do this investigation. He locks down the house, calls a buddy of his who he trusts to come in, and they start this investigation. And then you start to get this idea that there is, there's history between, because now they're doing flashbacks between him and the president, played by James Marsden. You get the idea that
phenomenal job.
What?
He does a phenomenal job.
He's great. Oh, he's great. I love James Marsden. He's great in X-Men. He's great in Westworld. He's great in this. So he, even when he's being silly in something like he did one of the Cinderella movies, right? He's good. He's good at going over the top like that. But so you get this idea that there's this tension, that something in the past happened. and you don't really know what it is, but you get the idea that there's some real tension in there. And now, this whole, and that there's, bigger secrets, which obviously will come to pass as we move forward. And I had marked a couple of things that didn't seem right to me, which made sense by the end. Okay, so the first thing that really jumped out at me was, so the first flashback, right, is 5 years ago. And Cal is talking about having just gotten reelected. And this is where he brings Sterling's character in. And I'm like, well, if he got reelected 5 years ago, how is he still the president?
So you know how they got me with that when he started talking about what it's going to be like when he retires and how he gets to have Secret Service agents.
Right.
So my assumption, as he's running up to the house, I'm like, oh, that's not the White House. I was
like,
well,
and that was the second thing was this. Okay, this isn't the White House. So is he an ex-president? And maybe I had that on my mind because I'm also, I'm watching 0 Day. So like, is he an ex-president?
Mm-hmm.
Is he, like what's going on here? But then obviously the other thing that really threw me off was when, they're having this conversation and it's, Cal is like asking him, are you going to be able to forgive me? And, all this stuff. And you don't really know what happened. You have a feeling maybe it had something to do with his family. You don't really know. And Collins is like, so what do you say? Like, I'll forgive you when you're dead.
Yep.
And I'm like, damn. Like, that's not something you say to the president, and then obviously there's this deal with, there's some kind of super secret project going on. And I don't know how far we want to get into this.
You stopped at episode 1?
I stopped at episode 1. I mean, I guess we'll go through episode 1.
Oh man, because it's funny. I just finished the most recent episode, and I can't wait till you get there.
All right.
And it was funny because he revealed that he said he got picked up for season 2. Yeah, we can keep talking, but I'm gonna need you to catch up. I'm gonna need you to catch up. Maybe it might be
catch up. So anyway, so it reveals at the end of season 1 that they're like in this underground bunker.
Yes.
It's like a city. It's like an underground city. I'm assuming that's the Colorado project that they're
Yes,
having.
it is.
And I turned off because I knew nothing about this going in. What I knew about this going in is what you had told me. This is a Secret Service agent investigating the murder of the president. That's all I knew.
The same for me. I'd see.
So when they do this reveal that they're like in this underground bunker and this is all fake, I just literally like turned off the TV and stared at it for 5 minutes. Like, it is unusual for me to get blindsided that badly by TV. Usually, I pick up on stuff and I at least have an idea of that something's going on. I had no idea that this is what was going on. And it completely floored me. And I was like, oh, this is going to be something totally different than what I expected it was going to be. And I like that.
I'm looking forward. This is what I like about it, that like I know where it's at, and I'm looking forward to hearing your reaction, with each episode. Because there's a bit of social commentary there's a good amount of social commentary going on in this show.
Right.
Probably even like I haven't seen the show on Netflix yet, but I'd say probably even more so than that. One thing I'm really
then what?
That Netflix show with like the ex-president and
0 Day.
Yeah. I'm just
Paradise looks to be way better.
Yeah, I've heard some things about.
So I'm 4 episodes into 0 Day out of the 6. It started off really, really strong, and it's kind of spinning out of control at this point. And I think it's a little too on the nose. And I think the other problem that it has is it was produced like 2 years ago,
Oh,
like in 23, because I remember that there was a big delay because of the writer's strike and everything. So that was the fall
yep.
of 23. Um, and then the SAG strike. And so that's the time frame that they're making it. And
Hmm.
I think they made some assumptions about the future that turned out not to be true. And in retrospect, they kind of look, it's kind of weird. Like, like having Angela Bassett be the president.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
you know where that's coming from.
Yeah.
And, and having like this, ex-president come in and takes us, it's like, if history had turned out different, the show would have landed a little differently. But
Yeah.
because history turned out the way that it did, the show's probably not landing the way that they wanted it to land. And De Niro he has he's like Harrison Ford, right? He's got moments of brilliance in it. I think he tends to be at his best when they just let him cook.
Okay.
Like, so when he's in a scene with two other people and they're having a conversation, it's kind of stilted or whatever.
Hmm.
But if they give him some room to run, where he has a monologue or he has a speech or he has like a moment, then
He's his old self.
that's Bob De Niro right there.
Okay.
So there's like a scene in the first episode where there's like a disaster. So I'll frame it a little bit for you. There's a terrorist attack that turns off all the computer systems in the country for 1 minute.
What?
And in that 1 minute, 6,000 people die
Whoa.
because traffic lights go out,
Uh,
trains stop, train control systems stop working. There's this big disaster in the New York subway where one train runs into another, you know, planes, maybe there's a couple of plane crashes or whatever, stuff like that. People in the middle of surgery, so 6,000 people die. And now they're trying to figure out who did it, why did it, prevent another one, blah, 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 blah. And so there's one moment where they're at the thing in New York and he comes down there and and there's people, there's all these conspiracy theorists and there's people who's like the government did this and there's people who's like, this, that, the government's hiding things and blah, blah, blah. And he gets out and he does this like kind of rallying the American patriotism speech. And it's
yeah.
actually really good. It's actually really good. And then there's one other moment, I think it's like in the third episode where they have this guy and he's like in an interrogation room in a black site and De Niro comes in and like has a conversation with him and he's really good. And you're getting like you're getting like Ace in Casino vibes. So he's got moments of brilliance in it, but a lot of it is just kind of operating around him and like not really making a lot of sense. So
I'm gonna check it out.
on that. I think it's worth the watch.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like the first couple episodes, I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. And then I was kind of like, is it though? Like sometimes TV series, like for me, like they take a few episodes to get rolling.
Yeah.
And for everybody to find everybody, it's like this one came out of the box punching and kind of fading out a little bit.
Oh no, well. Well, Paradise doesn't let up. Like, I can't wait. I can't wait. I was gonna say something. Oh, so I started Reacher. Did you start it yet?
Oh yeah, we watched the whole season.
It's
Or we're caught up on this current season.
Okay. I feel like it's too confined. I feel like they were all over the place last season, like all these different locations.
Yeah.
I feel like this season.
I think that's probably third season. Let's lower the budget.
True.
You know, make it a little cheaper to do kind of stuff. That's pretty typical for a TV show.
Because it feels like season one to me, like confined, like the way season one was.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with what's going on, but I don't know. I felt like last season was. I would compare it to like a big box office action movie,
Right.
and this feels more
It's
like
a
more
TV.
of a slow burn. Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't start the pit yet, right?
Start what? No. That's Friday.
Okay. That was another one where at the end of the 8th episode, I was glad I was by myself in the lunchroom at work because literally like tears were coming down my face.
Uh oh. I don't want to cry. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll see.
that show is really good, but it's probably like don't watch it before you're gonna go to bed, you know, because you
Dang
just
it.
like lay there thinking about it. But it's really it's so well done.
All right, so we're gonna have to start it like in the daytime, so I don't have to see this at night. All right. Moving on to James Gunn as he tries to rebuild DC from the ashes of Zack Snyder's foolishness.
Although there were pictures of them hanging out this week.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy about that at all. Well, tell us about the interview. Hopefully, I'm not upset.
Yeah, so there was James Gunn and Peter Seraphine apparently did an interview, I think it's in Deadline, where they touched on a bunch of stuff. From, a lot of stuff to a little bit of stuff. And
Give me the bad news first.
I don't know particularly that there's bad news. But I know they did talk, one of the big things that they were talking about was the whole Batman situation. You've got, the Batman 2 supposedly in the writing process. You've got Brave and the Bold.
I thought that script was done.
No, it's apparently not. They said that in the interview, they said that Matt Reeves has not turned in a script yet.
Oh my gosh.
So they're looking to start production at the end of this year. And they have a planned release date right now of October 1st, 2027. Yeah, so which was the weekend that, that weekend in October was when Joker released, and they're still sitting on top of that. So that's their plan for that one, and then Pattinson is not their Batman beyond that. Apparently this is a standalone story. The 2 movies and the Joke and the Penguin, and that's a little mini universe that's going on. Then there's, obviously Brave and the Bold going on, which is in development.
Okay, so do you see what DC, and this is, I'm just going to use make a point. You see what DC did with their game studios today?
No.
They killed off like 3 of them. And it looks like the only thing left are Portkey Games, which did the super successful Harry Potter game, and Rocksteady. The Wonder Woman game was canceled. And I say that to say, if the Batman 2 comes out and it's super successful, and Clayface is successful, and we get another season of The Penguin is successful, do you think David Zaslav is going to allow James Gunn to just be like, yep, you've wrapped up your old little Batman universe? No, he's going to tell that man that you let who's the guy that's running that thing over there? Who's directing it?
Who's who?
Who's directing the Batman?
Matt Reeves.
He's gonna tell him, hey, you let Matt Reeves do whatever the hell he wants over there with Batman, if he wants to keep doing it. But they're gonna try to milk that thing.
Oh, absolutely. You know, they're already talking. So Penguin was supposed to be a standalone story, a limited series, one and done. But like Shogun, it was really successful. So, all right, let's see what we can do about a season 2.
Yep.
They're already kind of sniffing around about it. It's an interesting world that Matt Reeves has worked on, and obviously they need to, they're starting from scratch with the Brave and the Bold. The bad news, I guess, if there's any, is the first look on that is going to Andy Muschietti, who directed
What?
Flash.
Oh my! And that, did you see the comments about why the Flash failed?
Yeah.
Like, read the room, dude. Because Grant Gustin's Flash was pretty damn good.
That was great. But I don't hold Ezra Miller entirely responsible for the failure of that movie. That movie was just a mess.
It's horrendous.
And then, they take the that whole dream sequence otherworld thing, and they're like, oh no, we wanted to do it that way. Really? You wanted it to look like somebody programmed it on their Amiga?
That
it was awful.
Nasty looking.
But yeah, so Muschietti is supposed to be the one who has a first look to look at the script. They're not naming the writer.
What?
Yeah. They have a writer. They're not telling anybody who the writer is. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means it's actually Muschietti. I don't know if it means that it's somebody nobody's ever heard of. I don't know if it means it's Joss Whedon. I don't know what it means.
It sounds like we need a grown up in the room.
Yeah, sounds like we kind of do.
People give Feige a lot of crap. You don't hear stuff like this. Like, do you hear things like, oh, this didn't go right, that didn't go right. But this just sounds crazy.
Yeah. So obviously this is going to be a story of Bruce Wayne and Damian Wayne. It's the Damian Wayne version of Robin.
I hate Damian. Like I there's no reason for that character to exist. I like that Batman doesn't have children. I don't care if he's a clone or uses DNA. I like that his children are his wards. Batman doesn't need to have a son. Like, not in that sense. That is a worthless character. I'm sorry, I just had to get that out there.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair.
All right. Any other highlights or lowlights?
They've got, obviously they've got, the Swamp Thing movie is in very, very early development. James Mangold is attached to direct it and kind of develop it. But I imagine we're probably 3 years away from that, 2 years away from that easily. I don't think they really have anything on paper with that. And then they kicked around Clayface
Heard about that.
Yeah. Clayface is the other thing that they're kind of working on. Interesting choice, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. And with this their super grounded take, I'm not sure I'm
Well,
interested
I
to see
mean,
what angle.
I don't know how grounded I mean, they've got James Watkin in talks to direct it. He's a horror guy. Um, so I think they're gonna try to lean into like a thriller horror aspect of it. I don't know how well that's gonna work out. You know, didn't really work out with Morbius very well, so I don't know which way they're gonna go with it.
I don't think anybody could help Sony out.
Yeah. But I'm just saying it's like I know it's kind of and it's tough to know like how if they decide to go like make it more of a horror route, like how that's gonna roll out, you know?
Mhm.
Maybe it hits, maybe it's good, maybe people respond to it. I think they've tried that on a couple of cases. New Mutants, um, and it's worked, didn't work,
I need to
you
actually
know.
watch New Mutants. I've never seen it in its entirety.
I haven't seen it either. I watched Morbius a couple of times or once and one and a half. Um, didn't really get into it all that much. It's not really my style of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a big horror guy.
No.
It's funny as we're having this conversation. I'm looking for an RC version of the Justice League Batmobile.
Oh, that would be cool.
I have a RC version of the Tumbler.
Do you? Do you
Yes,
really?
my wife got it for me for Christmas, and I use it to chase my youngest son around the house.
Oh man, that's awesome. I didn't know you had that.
And it was because I saw it at Macy's, and it was like $50 on clearance. So she was like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I was like, "Just one thing." And but I got into it because as we're talking about Batman, I'm like, let me see if this something like this exists. So many people on eBay trying to get it, buy it for like $500, so it'll stay on eBay.
Yeah. Yeah. You're fine right there.
Yep.
So supposedly, there's a lot of rumor floating around that Daniel Craig was lined up to play Sergeant Rock. Apparently he has turned it down, at which point Safran said,
Why?
"Well, we never talked to him." These guys covering their ass. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
That's all anybody was talking about was, "Oh, Daniel Craig's going to do Sergeant Rock," and yeah, no, we never talked to him. Really?
if these movies comes out and they're good, we'll all forget this. But this doesn't sound like it's starting on the right foot.
No, it seems like it seems to me like they've got, it feels like it's kind of like Star Wars. Like they've got a lot of stuff in development
Mm-hmm.
and they're just kind of trying to see what's gonna land, because they also they're doing an Authority movie. Um, plus
That's
they've
the
got,
Waller's film, right?
it's a TV show.
Okay.
They've got, well, Peacemaker's done. Peacemaker's coming out in August. They got Waller coming there that they're working on. They've got the Lanterns show that they're doing. Um, and then they are supposedly working on like I've heard it called like a Game of Thrones set in Themyscira.
Oh yeah, I'll
That's
believe
Paradise
that
Lost.
when it comes out on Max.
Yeah, seriously. That better have that freaking Sunday 10 o'clock time slot.
Yeah. Or they could just take the money and give us another season of Westworld.
Wrap that up.
I would like that very much. Even if you just give me like the hour and 20-minute movie to wrap it all up. But I'd like that to be, the bow to be wrapped.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's Supergirl too, which is coming out next year.
I kind of wish they didn't.
That is in production.
I wish they didn't announce this stuff. Like, I wish they had just announced like 3 or 4 things.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Well, don't forget a lot of this stuff that they do. They don't do announcements for us. They do announcements for investors
True.
and stockholders.
You gotta get some people. You gotta.
Warner Brothers is, you know, so they came out with, and I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but they came out with last week, like um the box office numbers for like the first 2 months of the year, or and like Disney is like at like 35%. I think Disney and Universal are both like killing it. Everybody else, like Warner Brothers, is in like single digits. Paramount's in
Yikes.
like sub single digits in terms of like tickets sold. So, obviously Disney, and that just comes from like what movies have been released and who's got what coming out. I mean, Brave New World did pretty decently. I mean, it had a really big drop off. In terms of its box office last week, and everybody's talking about that. But it's kind of sitting. I think it's sitting like behind Eternals and Love and Thunder, but it's sitting ahead of the Marvels
So
right
bad
now.
for them, but good for me, which means it's probably gonna end up on streaming and quicker, right?
Yeah,
Hey, they still making Blu-rays or 4K DVDs? Because that's something I would want to pick up.
they absolutely are.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of people who are they want to own it, and the way some of these streaming services are, because if you buy something and it's only digital, and that service goes out of business or gets sold or shut down,
You're hit.
or they lose a license to that or whatever, that even though you've bought it, that's not technically your content,
No.
and they could delete it right, from whatever, lock it out. And people, that has happened to plenty of people. So there are a whole lot of people who are just like, no, give me a Blu-ray, let me, you know, put it on the shelf and I'll watch it when I want to watch it. Um,
And I think that's something I'm going to be doing going forward for the stuff I really want.
yeah.
Because then
So
you still get a streaming version as well most of the time, right?
yeah, right. Yeah, there's always a streaming. You don't necessarily have to watch the Blu-ray. You could watch it on streaming, but um, it's nice to have it if you can't, if all of a sudden your content gets locked down.
As a matter of fact, I'll give you a good example. We had lost internet in the summertime for like 3 days. Thank God I found a box of like 50 Blu-rays to watch. Because woof, it was rough.
Yeah.
It was really rough.
Oh no, we were without the internet for 3 days. Yeah.
Each kid in this house has a streaming device.
No, I know it's a completely different thing. It's like if you're not connected now, it's like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah. And
It's like
then
withdrawal.
factor in an autistic child whose whole routine is get dressed, grab my tablet, and watch Sesame Street. It was not fun.
Yeah.
Anything else before we get out of here?
No, I just want to like touch base on just kind of circle back to where we started with Brave New World. I mean, it's about to hit 300 million.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really knows if that's good or not.
What was the
Because
budget?
nobody
like
really,
two something?
nobody really. Well, so their announced budget was 180. Nobody believes that
Oh, because of the reshoots.
because of all the reshoots and everything.
Jeez.
It's probably closer to 250 to 300. Um, it has 68% drop off last week. Yeah, 300 million. That's pretty awful.
How much do you think that these negative reviews have to do with things?
Oh, I think I think there's a combination of things. I think the negative reviews have to do with things. I think the short streaming windows have to do with things because a
That's
lot of
true.
people are, a lot of people are just like, oh, I'll just watch it when I get home, and when it comes, I'll just watch it when it comes to streaming. I can wait a month, I can wait 2 months, and I think, what happens is the people look at the reviews, like if it looks really like it's going to be really good, and reviews are saying, oh, you need to go out and see this movie in the theater because it's amazing, and you need to go see it, like people were doing with Dune. It's like, don't wait for this to go home, go out and see it. you
Mhm.
know that's one thing. But if people are like, if it's got mid-level reviews, it's running a 49 on Rotten Tomatoes, people are going to be like, am I going to spend 25 bucks to go to the movies, or am I just going to wait a month and I'll just watch it on Disney Plus when it comes out, because it's
I'm not
not
gonna
that good
wait
anyway. Yeah, exactly.
because that's what I do.
Right, that's what a lot of people do. And it's, for me, there's a lot that's in there. Like, I'm going to like really like dislike the movie experience in a lot of ways. Although it wasn't bad, we went to see it. It wasn't bad. There wasn't a lot of distractions. Although there was a guy like out of the corner of my eye was on his phone the whole time. I was like, dude, turn your
The,
brightness down. Do something.
the
But
text you sent me, how happy you were that there are only like 5 people in there.
yeah, yeah, we went on a when did we go, Saturday morning? I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it was really, there was nobody in there, and I was like, whew, it's the way to do it. Um, I mean, there are certain films, obviously, you want the crowd for, and you want to be part of that I don't mind,
Not
you
me.
know? I mean, like, so, like watching like Endgame or something like that, when Cap picks up the hammer, you know? Like, that's a big crowd moment. Like, you get swept up in that. Or, um, in the Last Jedi, where the fleet comes at the end, those moments you get kind of swept up in. But for the most part, I'm with you. It's like, dude, there's 3 people in this theater. Why are they sitting like within 100 feet of me? Get them away from me. um because it's like people have completely lost their theater etiquette anymore. It's like they talk, they're on their phones, they're doing
Mhm.
this and that, they're walking around. It's just such a pain. And I got a nice comfy couch, I got a big old TV, I got surround sound, I got a kitchen right here, I got a bathroom right there, I got a pause button. you
Yep.
know it's got to be really an experience. There's got to be a real experience for me to want to get up, get in the car, drive over to the theater, pay money, stand in line for an overpriced snack, sit in the theater with a bunch of people that I don't know, and watch a movie.
Were they selling
And I
toys and memorabilia at your movie theater?
They had like a Captain America pack or something. It was like a special popcorn bucket. I think there was like a mini helmet, maybe. I saw it. I wasn't gonna buy it, but
They
I,
had full shelves of toys and movie memorabilia at, I mean, it used to be Crown Marquis, now it's an AMC theater. And I'm like, what the hell happened in movie theaters? Like, it was
really.
like end caps, like probably my height, 3 of them of
What's
stuff.
that's the one in Trumbull, the one on Quarry Road.
Yeah.
That's an AMC now.
Yep. And I'm sitting there like, what? And my son's like, yeah, last time me and mom came, you can buy stuff now.
So
Weirdest thing.
so speaking of a couple of things that we were just talking about, AMC and the theatrical window. So there was a news article that came out where Adam Aaron, who is the chairman of AMC, um, is now apparently on a push where they're he says they're trying to get studios to keep movies in the theaters longer. And he's sitting there saying that, um the 17 to 30 day window is too short, and it's a matter of big delay. Um, he says, we believe everybody would make more money if the windows were longer. We'll continue to see what we do to convince the industry it should be firm around a 45-day number, and maybe we can send it to 60 or 74 days. And 17 or 30 days are too short, and this is a conversation that's front center, live, and wishful thinking.
Not gonna happen.
The what really is weird about this is he's the one who negotiated the 17-day window in the first place. And he did it behind the backs of the other studios. During the whole COVID thing, when the studios were trying to hold tight on a 45-day window, and out of nowhere at like midnight, AMC comes out and is like, hey man, we just signed a deal with, I think it was Universal, maybe. I forget who it was. It was like, yeah, man, we're going to be doing 17 days. And
why did he do that?
This is the future of the industry. And now this is like the thing I just watched in the news where like Trump was talking about the trade deal with Canada, and he's like, who made this terrible deal? It's like, dude, you made the deal. This is your trade deal. It's the same deal. He's like, oh, the 17, 30-day window it's ridiculous. It's not sustainable. We can't, it's the worst deal ever. It's like, but you're the one who made the deal, and you went behind the backs of all the other studios to do it.
Did he say why he negotiated such a short window? Or was
they were in a panic mode,
so they thought
nobody's going to the movies.
They thought studios would just skip the theaters altogether.
Right. And which was happening. You had theaters doing day date where they were putting it in the theater, but they were also dropping it on streaming on the same day.
Like Black Widow,
Dune, there's a couple other ones.
Oh, Space Jam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were a few.
Right. Because they were like, oh, well, we need to put it in the theater. There are people going to want to go, and we, has to qualify for whatever. But yeah, we just want people to watch it, and nobody's going to the movies. So they were trying to hold out to a window, and AMC comes in out of nowhere and is like, yeah, we'll just do this, 17 days, which is 2 weeks and a weekend. Right.
Jeez.
So the movie opens on Thursday, really Friday, but like Thursday night is previews. The movie opens on Friday. It's 2 weeks and the following weekend. And then that third Monday is when it can hit streaming. That's what 17 days is.
That's crazy. So you almost have no incentive to go to the theater.
Right. Because it's going to be 2 weeks. And I can watch it at home. And, on a service that I'm already paying for.
Yep.
Or worst case scenario, I could watch it on VOD, premium VOD or something like that. Maybe it's not going to be on streaming, but it's going to be digitally available to me so I could sit in my living room and watch it. And if I'm going to spend $25 to watch it,
let me do it at home.
I'll sit at home where I can watch it twice. Because usually those premium VODs are like 24 hours or 48 hours. So you can watch it multiple times.
Eesh.
And not spend $12 on popcorn.
Yeah, my son, I told him, I'm like, look, you better eat before we leave.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting Captain America on Blu-ray within the next 3 weeks. Dang. I was reading a book, and then the author, the premise of the book was essentially like everything that happened with COVID was gonna happen, like or like all the like the fallout.
Right.
It just got accelerated, and that's especially true for these movie theaters because the
Well,
prices are already getting out of hand.
yeah. I think there's a lot of companies and things that like took advantage of situations, some of which backfired, like the whole work from home thing, right? There were a lot of companies who were like, well, we can downsize our footprint, stop paying rent, get smaller buildings. Everybody just works from home. They didn't see the downside to it. And now everybody's kind of in a panic trying to get everybody back into the office. But, you know, they were certainly ready to take advantage of it. I
Absolutely.
think, and I think the studios were looking at it as an opportunity because don't forget there's revenue sharing, right? So the first week of release, they basically split the revenue with the exhibitors. So when you see that, you know, a movie has done $200 million in its first week, right? That's revenue. That's not the studio. The studio's not getting that money, right? They're getting half of that's taken off the top. So now I have a movie that cost me $150 million to make, probably another $100 million to market it. So I'm 250 into it. Comes out first week, makes 150 million. And you're like, oh, cool, I'm well on my way, right? Except you're not because you only got 75 million of that. The theaters got the rest. Now the second week, it's like a 2/3 split. So the longer the movie is in the theaters, then the bigger share the theaters make. And which is why they want longer windows for one.
I was
But
gonna say I'd be skipping the theater altogether.
yeah, right. Well, and that's what was tempting to the studios was like, well, look, so we have to do this revenue sharing. We might as well just dump it on our streaming service, you know? I'm still not sure, and I don't know if anybody really knows like how they're monetizing that. I mean, premium VOD, that's one thing. That's pretty clear. They're doing rentals. Um, in terms of like flat streaming, you know, I don't know. Like, are they counting? Like, are they figuring a certain percentage of their subscriptions? I don't know how they're figuring all that. But, um, yeah, everybody was ready to jump on it and take advantage of whatever opportunities that COVID presented. So I think you're right. Like, some of the stuff was probably bound to happen anyway, and just kind of, stepped on the gas for it. It's like, oh, here's a chance to try this. Let's try this
Hmm.
day date thing. Let's try dropping stuff on streaming out of the box and see what happens.
That's an insane split.
Yeah.
Jeez. What's the next big one? Oh, Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. I'm really looking forward to Thunderbolts.
Me too. And Superman.
Yeah.
Which one do you think makes more money?
It's tough to bet against Marvel, but it's tough to bet against Superman. I'm going. It's all going to depend on how good they are. If Thunderbolts is as good as I think it's going to be, I think that one will win it. I think it's a more approachable movie based on what I've seen in the trailer.
They're gonna need to drop a killer trailer for Superman. The first one was really good. I liked it, but I think they're gonna have to do something.
Yeah. Well, it's just a teaser. I mean, they need to put a real trailer out.
You got 5 months.
Yeah.
You better get in that editing room. What? Oh, so what I will say this before we get out of here. I can't find the Justice League RC car, but I found a 1989 uh, Batmobile,
Oh, that's sweet.
and it's sitting on the platform in the Batcave. Comes with a Michael Keaton. Smoke comes out the back.
Ah,
Lights up. Now I just have to find a way to spend $117 without anybody in the house noticing I paid that for an RC car.
it's actually
Gonna
pretty
go
cheap.
do some Amazon deliveries.
It's actually pretty cheap.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, it's just this may interesting. I don't know if this will interest you or not. I just found it more interesting than I thought
Okay.
I would. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, a
Yep.
lot of weird ones. I listened today. So you know who Katie Sackhoff is?
Was that the lady that played Bo-Katan?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So she's got a podcast and she interviews like a lot of her Hollywood friends and stuff like that. People have been in the show. So she just dropped one yesterday, I think. And she did an interview with Mercedes Vernado,
Oh,
who
nice.
does not do a lot of in-depth interviews. She's a very private person.
Mhm.
For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about,
Sasha
she
Banks.
Sasha Banks in WWE. Now she's Mercedes Monet in AWE, right?
Yep.
Is it AWE?
AEW.
AEW. She also played Reeves in The Mandalorian, done a couple of acting little things. But I thought you might find it interesting. I found it really fascinating because she was like really walking through like kind of like a day in the life of a wrestler kind of stuff. Like these situations that they put in, her injury that she got when she broke her foot. Kind of this balancing of, acting, wrestling, the decision to leave the WWE. She didn't really get deep into it, and there's been other pieces on it, like as to why she left. I think she's been very classy about it.
Oh, yeah, she has.
I think she had a very personal beef with McMahon,
Oh, most definitely.
but she has not like really like come out and said exactly what it was. And she's kind of she's gone between the creative differences or I didn't see a path for growth, kind of really taking the high road on it. And I really appreciate her for that. And I really respect her for that. It was she's really well spoken. She's very smart. I really thought it was an interesting interview.
I got to check that out because I don't see a lot of interviews with her, and I would like to hear her talk more.
All right, so that sounds like a wrap.
All right, folks, thank you for joining us. And my motto for 2025: consistency is the key.
I like it. I like the sound of it.
All right, and that's it. We'll see you soon, though.
That's it. Thanks for
Because we're
listening.
going to talk about
Peace out.
Paradise. Peace.
There you go.